JBN, we keep you informed. 73-year-old fisherman stabbed, bludgeoned to death. An investigation has been launched into Saturday's murder of a 73-year-old fisherman who resides in Hellshire, St. Catherine. Dead is Joseph Pitt, otherwise called Fire. Reports are that about 6:30 p.m. Pitt was attacked at his home by a man who used an object to stab him in the head repeatedly. The assailant then used a large stone to smash Pitt's head while the senior citizen was on the ground. The attacker was chased by a witness but escaped on foot. Pitt was taken to the Spanish Town Hospital where he died while undergoing treatment. His body was removed to Morgan's funeral home. Ex-soldier who publicly killed ex-lover and nurse dies in custody. An ex-soldier was sentenced to 19 years in prison for the shooting death of his ex-girlfriend at a supermarket in St Thomas Bay, St Anne in 2017 has died in hospital. The convict, Alvin Chatry, was hospitalized after falling ill while serving time at the St Catherine Adult Correctional Center in Spanish Town, St Catherine. He died after reportedly suffering a heart attack on Thursday. Chatry, who was a resident of Salem in Morant Bay, St Anne, pleaded guilty to the offense of murder on October 23, 2018, in relation to the death of 39-year-old Ophelia Wollaston, a nurse, who was employed at the St. Thomas Bay Regional Hospital. The convict, who was 61 years old at the time of his sentencing in the St. Anne Circuit Court in November of 2018, was ordered to serve 15 years of his sentence before being eligible for parole consideration. Reports are that Wollaston, a mother of 2 young children, went to the St. Anne's Bay police station and filed a report against Chatry just minutes before she was shot dead only meters away on Friday, October 27, 2017. Her former lover had been issuing several threats against her life after he became jealous of her relationship with another man and was angry that their romance was over. After filing the report, Wollaston went to a nearby supermarket where she was shot by Chatry inside the establishment. The attacker was then employed at a security company. Wollaston later died in hospital. After the shooting, Chatry, still with his licensed Glock pistol in hand, walked to the police station, where he turned himself over to investigators and confessed to the killing. Following his questioning by the police, Chatry, who served 16 years in the Jamaica Defense Force JDF, was charged with murder and remained in custody without bail. In handing down the sentence in November 2018, presiding High Court Judge Justice Marcia Dunbar Green indicated that the fact that Chatry had a decent background and military training, she expected him to have displayed better judgment. She further noted that he allowed his jealousy and anger to get the better of him. It is understood that Chatry was angered by the circumstances in which Wollaston was reportedly not honest with him during their time together, as she was said to have refused to end a relationship that she had with the father of one of her children while being with Chatry. He had also claimed that the nurse had given him a sexually transmitted disease. However, neither Chatry nor his attorney had put forward any medical evidence to verify that claim. In arriving at the 19-year prison term, Justice Dunbar Green said she took into account that Chatry had pleaded guilty to murder under the Criminal Justice Administration Provision Act at the earliest possible date, which allowed for a reduction in his sentence. Additionally, further discounts to his sentence were given for him having no previous conviction and for having taken responsibility at the very moment he committed the murder by turning himself over to the police. The judge had recommended that during his time in custody, Chatry should undergo counseling as part of his rehabilitation and suggested that his engineering skills should be utilized by the correctional service. Chef charged with felonious wounding of woman during dispute. 26-year-old Nickalous Samuda, a chef of Wilmington District, St Thomas, is scheduled to appear in the St Thomas Parish Court in Morant Bay on Wednesday, June 17, to answer to a charge of felonious wounding following an incident on October 26, 2019. Reports from the Morant Bay police were that about 12 a.m. Samuda reportedly had a dispute with a woman in his community. During the dispute, he allegedly used a knife to stab the woman several times, puncturing her lungs in the process. The woman was taken to the hospital, where she was admitted for treatment. An investigation was launched, and Samuda was subsequently pointed out to the police and was charged by investigators. Jamaicans aboard ship denied landing in Portugal. It's the last thing they had hoped for, 2 rejections in as many weeks. But that's the reality for a group of 45 heartbroken Jamaican ship workers who are among hundreds aboard the Morella Discovery 2, which has now been denied docking in Portugal. Just over a week ago, the Jamaicans were also refused landing in Kingston amid restrictions on all incoming passengers as part of their new coronavirus containment measures. The crew is now turning to the United Kingdom for refuge and will be seeking to dock in Southampton. "I feel so sad," said the mother of one of the Jamaicans yesterday on learning of the development. The woman, whose name has been withheld, said this misfortune has renewed the pain she felt 2 Thursdays ago when the Jamaicans were denied landing in Kingston. "Jamaica is their home and they shouldn't turn them back," said the woman, who is in her 70s. Since then, it has been a daily struggle for the retiree to cheer up her husband at home and their daughter hundreds of miles away on the seas. "I am depending on the Lord for them," she said. On Sunday, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, speaking on That's a Wrap on Radio Jamaica, said that his information was that the captain had withdrawn the request for landing in Jamaica. However, he could not immediately say whether the withdrawal was made after the captain decided to pull out of Kingston. Meanwhile, opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson has called the policy of the government unconscionable. This latest action of the government adds to a troubling trend where Jamaican citizens are abandoned on foreign soil without assistance, as was the experience with our fishermen who were treated as slaves and left to the whim and fancy of others. Our students in China who made their appeal on social media for assistance in returning home, and our hotel workers who arrived in transit into Barbados but were denied at the Grantley Adams International Airport, said Jackson. On April 2, the Morella Discovery 2 arrived in Kingston, refueled, and waited for hours for docking clearance, but left a day later when no response came from the government. The vessel then went to the Dominican Republic, where its nationals disembarked before it set sail for Portugal. Last week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declined to say whether the government would be seeking to assist the 45 Jamaican ship workers. However, he said the government was considering the controlled re-entry of Jamaicans overseas who would be subject to mandatory state quarantine. Holness said the returnees would also be expected to contribute to the bills for the hotels where they would be held. "Hotels are not free, neither are the meals," the Prime Minister said during a virtual press briefing at Jamaica House. Silent carrier warning as Health Ministry tracks 1,000 Portlanders. Health authorities in Portland are concerned about the danger of asymptomatic coronavirus carriers as the government tracks 1,000 residents of the parish who may have come directly or indirectly in contact with COVID-19 positive persons. The disclosure was made by Chief Public Health Inspector in charge of the parish, Lorenzo Hume. The public health expert was addressing the monthly sitting of the Portland Municipal Corporation last Thursday via the internet. 5 persons have tested positive in Portland, which has 3 communities on the Health Ministry's radar: Springbank, Hector's River, and Breastworks. The global pandemic has already claimed the lives of 4 Jamaicans locally and accounted for more than 70 cases. We have gone now in terms of a community visit interface, or got information through different avenues of more than 1,000 people that we would have tried to get information on them and sift through that to see who are the persons of interest, Hume told the meeting. The Chief Public Health Inspector has expressed concern about commuters who continue to ignore social distancing stipulations of staying at least 3 feet apart. Hume's statement comes against the background of troubling scenes in the parish capital, Port Antonio, where large gatherings have been noticed, particularly in the corridor featuring National Commercial Bank, the Bank of Nova Scotia, the Post Office, and some supermarkets. The hotspots are basically in the town. We are extremely worried because among our group we have an asymptomatic carrier among our positive cases. And in that respect, if that person had infected other persons, they are also asymptomatic and we are in for trouble, Hume further said. Hume disclosed that a 60-year-old woman who was the first positive case in Portland has been discharged from hospital and released to home quarantine for an extended period. The health department will be conducting daily checks on her progress, the inspector said. The other 4 cases are still under investigation, Hume said. 1 person is reportedly in isolation, another in hospital quarantine, and 15 others self-quarantined at home. Hume also commended local health workers who have been on the front line treating patients in affected communities. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember, subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.